Hi, I'm Sabrina, and I just wanted to share with you another story about another client. And this time I'm doing it because I just really want you to know that just because one side wants something in a divorce doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Because during my whole meeting with her, when I'm coaching her to try to, be a little stronger and what to talk about and what to say to her attorney, she was just saying, well, he wants this and he wants that, and if I can't do this, and he wants to wait, and he wants to push the divorce, and like all the things. And I said, why is it all about him? Where are you in the mix? And it was a long-term marriage, and he traveled a lot, and everything was left to her, left on her plate, left in terms of the children and the house and work and money. And when he would be home, which wasn't that often, he would go out with the guys and he would just do his thing. And so she just, in addition to kind of holding it all together, now that he wants the divorce, she's really lost and she's sad and she feels defeated, and she just really wants to work out the marriage, but he doesn't want to work on the marriage. So my suggestion is she just really has to work on herself. And this is where I talk about really trying to get a hold of who you are and being the best version of yourself that you can be, and stop looking outside of yourself for the validation or the love from a spouse that's not giving it to you. So if you're not getting it from your spouse, you have to start learning how to give it to yourself. And how do you do that? Well, a lot of people talk about affirmations. There's meditations. YouTube has so many different amazing meditations out there. There's amazing content creators that will help you through a lot of emotional trauma and tragedy. There's forgiveness prayers, there's letting go, there's all sorts of things. Uh, you have to find what works for you, but I highly recommend taking some time to do for yourself things that you like to do. And you might not even know what that is yet. You might need to figure that out. But in order to figure that out, you need to take the time to do that. You need to take the time to figure out who you are. What do you want? How do you see your life? And for so many people, it's so scary, especially when you were a unit for so long. And even though the unit might have been a little dysfunctional, it was still a unit. You still had your spouse, you still had your children. It was all under one roof. Now, when there's a divorce and a custody dispute or custody issues, or even just a divorce without kids, it's it's scary, it's painful, and it's lonely. You feel just rejected and dejected, and there's so much shame and guilt and regret, and you wish you would have done it this way, or you blame yourself. There's all these different types of fears and just guilt, apprehension, emotions, just so much. And time helps. Spending time with yourself helps. Spending time doing what you love, trying to get your mind off things, but you have to learn how to process it. Processing is really an individual thing. No one can tell you how to process something better than yourself, which is why I always recommend taking time to go within. When I say take time to go within, that means sit in silence, whether it's with some meditative music, theta beats, or binaural beats, or just anything that gets you in that calm meditative state. Maybe it's some beautiful classical music. I don't know. Some people love hard rock. When I was going to school, I had a girlfriend that would study with her headphones on and listening to heavy metal music. I'm like, how can you get any work done? And that's what forced her to concentrate. But whatever it is, whatever makes you tick, whatever is good for you, you have to figure out that and you have to do it. But you have to be a little more selfish in the meantime. And that doesn't mean you're being bad. Being a little selfish is sometimes good and sometimes necessary. Do what you need to do to get yourself straight, get yourself in order, figure out what you need to do, have a clear mind, go for walks in nature, clear your head. Then you can figure it out what you want because you gain clarity in peace, and you can't gain clarity in chaos. When there's too much chaos, you don't know what it is that you don't know, and it's hard to make those decisions for long-term lifestyle, whether it's with your children or with money or where you want to live, unless you figure out what it is that you want. So try not to make long-term decisions when you're in a high emotional state. Like, are you going to move? Because if you move, then do you have to move your children's schooling and education? And then what? And if you're not going to move, then you're going to have to deal with that down the road. And you don't really want to go back to court after your judgment's final. You don't want to have to go back to court to fight over education and where you want to take your kids to school and where you want to move your children. So there's a lot of components to a divorce. There's a lot of things that you need to consider. And it's very difficult to predict every single contingency. But the best way to know what your future looks like is to really get clear on what your present should be, how you want to live, how you want your life to look. You are the architect of your life. You can have, be, or do anything that you want in this life. Truly. You can live in your imagination and you can figure it all out. But in order to figure it all out and to figure out what you want, you first have to be calm and clear and just very self composed. So that's about it for now. I know I said a lot in this video, but we're going to start breaking down these pieces of these videos bit by bit. And I'm going to get you stronger in no time. All right. Bye for now.